Well, good day. Here we are again.
Yeah, twice a week.
Twice a week. You guys did something different. You added in like a moving wallpaper sort of thing for people who are watching and not listening. The yellow and black ERIL is now live. I don't think I noticed that before.
Yeah, it's very quick. So it's like right before you see our beautiful faces.
I love that. I love that for us. Yellow and black, very Bumblebee or Boston Bruins. Okay, let's get started.
So today we're diving into myths about buying and selling real estate in Edmonton that drive people crazy. And we are going to set the record straight.
That's right, we are. But first, a disclaimer. So before we get started, let's just get this disclaimer out of the way. The content of this show is for general informational purposes only and does not constitute legal, financial, or real estate advice. For advice specific to your circumstances, you must consult a licensed professional. Realtors on this show will provide tailored real estate guidance only to their exclusive clients, and this program is not intended to solicit those already in service agreement with another realtor.
Nice. So welcome to the Edmonton Relocation Insider, or ERIL for short, like we like to call it.
Yeah. So for our host, we are giving a shout out to Joseanne Douglas, who's unable to join us today. Joseanne is a RE/MAX River City powerhouse and brings her no-nonsense approach and deep knowledge of the Edmonton market. Right now, she's out with some buyers. So loves them more than us, apparently. But she'll be back on Sunday for the monthly market update with you guys.
And that's Kimberly Graham, also with RE/MAX River City, known for her wit, honesty, and knack for telling it like it is. Plus, she is a true storyteller. If you know Kimberly, you're going to love her stories.
I always have a story for that. You know how there's like a hack for that or an app for that? I have a story for that. All right. And then last but not least, Jen McPhillamy is from Initial Real Estate and 274 Podcast Hub. She's one of the co-founders, you guys. Like, shout out and applause for her. And she helps you make sense of the noise and keeps things real with a fresh and creative take. So welcome us.
Yay. Together we host ERIL, Edmonton Relocation Insider Live, your go-to question and answer. And we hope somebody's brave enough to one time hit us up with some questions, because we love to give you some answers. And you ask questions about moving to Edmonton or living in Edmonton. We're here every Sunday at 1 p.m. Mountain, 3 p.m. Eastern, and Thursday, 6 p.m. Mountain, 8 p.m. Eastern.
Yes, ma'am.
So this show that we have for you today, myths that make buyers and sellers crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, there's a lot of these. Actually, I don't know if they make the buyers and sellers crazy or us crazy. So I'm just going to give you like a preview of what you guys are going to hear from us today. Hopefully we'll be able to touch on all of them or most of them. So buyers, I'll wait for the market to crash before buying, or I shouldn't buy if interest rates are high.
Yeah.
How about you do the seller ones? Or
okay, let's do that. You start with the buyer one.
Yeah. And then sellers, we're going to say, they usually say if price too high, I can always come down. I don't need to get a pre-approval. I'll just start shopping. That's a buyer one. Sellers, I have to renovate everything before I list. I have so much to do. Buyers, the best deal is always the lowest price. Right.
Or sellers think the best deal is only about being the highest number. Correct. Not true. Mm-hmm. Not true. Yeah. And last but not least, that we don't need professional photo or marketing. My house sells itself. All right. Sometimes we have to have tough love conversations. That's like people who tell us they don't need staging. Yes, you do. Mm-hmm. Yeah. To some degree.
And if we have time,
we have a bonus discussion about buyer letters if we have time. I kind of sprung that on Jen, you guys. We're ad-libbing this in real time together. She did not know I added that to the agenda. So, yeah.
Do they work or do they not work? If we don't have time, maybe it'll be a whole video on it.
Feel free, you guys, the people who are watching, to pipe in and let me know. Let us know if you think buyer letters work when we get to that discussion. But shall we start at the top?
Yes. Buyers. So, take it away.
All right. So this is kind of two sides of the same coin, but essentially this is for buyers who they want to wait for the market to crash before buying, or they're concerned about buying when interest rates are high and they want to wait for the interest rates to go low. So I'll start with the interest rate one because that one's a lot easier to address. We totally get it. The biggest question you need to ask yourself right now is, can you afford this home right now? Can you? Because inevitably, interest rates are going to go up. They're going to go down. So even if you buy when the interest rates are really low, there's stress tests. And if you don't know what that is, please call a mortgage broker, or maybe we'll have a guest on the show. We can talk about it. But stress test is just testing if you can afford. It doesn't mean you're going to actually pay it. But the reality is you would actually end up paying it. So we need to make sure you can afford it and all that good stuff. But I remember when I bought my first house, which was in 2008, interest rates were like 5.5%, 6%. It was completely bonkers. We paid $160 for this house, something like that. And that same house is probably worth, I don't know, $500,000 today. Who even knows? So that's what we paid for it. And then that was in the fall. And then in the spring of 2009, interest rates plummeted down to like 2.5%, 3%. And what happened to the prices, Jen? Because I see you nodding. You know exactly what happened to the prices when the interest rates went down. They went through the roof. Like within 6 months, our house was worth $200,000. We did nothing to it in that 6 months. So that's what happens. You're always going to get ahead. So please talk to your mortgage broker about this, because we are not mortgage brokers, but this is something that if you were sitting in front of us, we'd be telling you to do. Ask them about variable rates if you qualify and what they think, because sometimes it's not a fit. But you can sometimes get a shorter interest or a shorter lock-in for your mortgage or whatever. And then when the rates go down, you can remortgage or do whatever you need to do. And then you can lock in that capital. It's probably a better move for you.
In all my time, I've only seen 1 year where variable interest rates have not been a benefit. And that was recently, but now they are again. So, but you know what's funny about this interest rate thing? It's like, buyers, I shouldn't buy if the interest rates are high. I'll wait for the market to crash before buying. It's like, literally, if the interest rates are high, the market's probably crashing or about to. So, I mean, if you had to time it, but I wouldn't time it. Like, you either need a place to live or you don't. Like, the market goes up and down all the time. So, you know, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. It's just like buying stocks. So,
and that's the same thing as waiting for the market to crash. I'll wait for the market to crash. All right, you guys, we could get into the economics of what would happen if the entire housing market crashed, because it does not just implicate realtors or mortgage brokers or whatever. Think about all of the ancillary businesses, movers, cleaners, painters, like Home Depot selling products and moving boxes, U-Haul, all of those things. It would be a catastrophe to the nth degree for the economy. So we're not going to hope for that. But from time to time, we do see market depressions. I think we can all agree. We've seen a few of those in our lifetime. I think the most significant one I saw was the oil, when the oil crashed in 2014, 2015, and the significant impact it had on our market here in the Edmonton area. So, these things can happen.
It was a long ripple effect on that one. Like,
it was a years long ripple effect. It is nearly impossible to predict where the bottom of that market was. And I personally feel it was January of 2020. In hindsight, that's when the bottom was, in that little, within a month of that, because as soon as the pandemic hit and we sorted out that we were allowed to leave our house, when we got to that point, the summer of 2020 was gangbusters crazy. Gangbusters. And it really, like, we've had blips where it's slowing down, the interest rate adjustments of 2022 definitely did that, but it did not stop for 2+ years. It did not stop. And it went up, 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 up. So if you just happen to have been lucky and purchased in January of 2020, you did really well, but you just got lucky. So you can't wait for something you can't predict.
Yep. That's what I would tell everybody that was buying in 2019. That's like, oh, I could get a better deal. They only want to give me 30,000 off. It's like, this is a great deal. Like, you don't understand. Like, these people, they're giving you a discount and they're selling at a loss. Like things go up and down. All these people in 2019 selling at a loss, and people were like sore about it because there's so much inventory. Like, I remember so much inventory that was like, okay, no, we can't go see 30 houses that match your criteria. Let's get more specific about what you want. Like, I mean, we could, but like, why confuse yourself? Like, why not like go to the ones that you really, really want first?
Yeah.
And then,
To interject on that, not to interrupt her, but I think Jen would agree with me. This is not because we don't want to show you these properties or we don't want to work for you. Honestly, especially in certain price points, you are looking at the exact same house in different colors. Like,
Yeah.
I remember saying this to one of my buyers and she thought it was funny and I thought it was funny. So I hope you guys think it's funny. It's the same house in different fonts. That's all it is. Like, you're looking at a half duplex in Terwilligertown. There's 2 different layouts and 3 different color patterns, and you're going to eventually just see the same house over and over.
Yeah.
And sometimes one smells like flowers and one doesn't, and really that's about as much
Yeah.
variation as you're going to get. But
Bungalows from the 1960s or whatever, same
yeah,
thing. Like, I remember I had this buyer. She's like, it was like it crashed. Like, it was basically in hindsight crash, right? So she's looking for properties in Edmonton. She's coming from Calgary. She's like, okay, I got narrowed it down to 20 condos.
oh,
And I'm like, you're not gonna make it. Like, I'll like do 8 and let's see. And
yeah.
like by like 5 or 6, her and her dad were like acting like they just ran a half marathon. They're like, this is a lot.
I did not know that real estate was a cardio sport until I got involved. It is. It is like a cardio / doing word searches in your head all day kind of sport. It really
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
like, we need to recharge. I'm like, so I took them for supper or lunch or something. I'm like, let's just like have a little bite, kick our feet back a bit. And then they're like, no, we don't really want to look at more. Let's just go back to that first one and see.
Yeah.
Like,
And
yeah.
And
Really?
like, let me ask you this question. So, generally speaking, because I do relocation as a specialty, if you're coming in from out of town, there are times we look at 8, 10, 12. Yes, that's a different kitty cat for sure. But 20 in one day or even over a weekend is extreme. And it's not, again, not because we don't want to work. It's because you're going to forget. You are
And the
going to
tolerance,
forget.
though, like even to do 12, I think is like a special buyer because like
Yeah.
I think most buyers have a capacity of like 6 to 8.
I agree. 6 to 8 is really perfect, I think, for a relocation buyer. If you are local, I say 5 is 4 is like a perfect outing.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you will forget. And I do find that people get that FOMO, like Jen is saying. There's actually of the 20, there's actually 5 that they're interested in. The rest are just because they feel like they need to check it off a list. Don't do that to yourselves.
Luckily, the market's a little bit different from then. Like,
Yeah.
not as much inventory, thank God. There was like 20,000 or 19,000 listings.
Yeah.
All of them. It was like gross. What are we down to? Like 2,900. Anyway, that's a Sunday show. But
Yeah.
so like, I'll wait for the market to crash, as buyers are saying, before buying. It's like, well, first of all, if that's your tactic, only few people can do that because like if you're moving for a job, if you're getting a divorce, if you have pets that don't fit into rentals, then it really doesn't matter about the market. Just try to get the best deal you can in the current market that
Yeah, totally. Okay, so number 2. This is seller's one. Why don't you take this one?
So if I price high, I can always come down. Oh yeah, you can.
Yeah,
you can come way down if you price high. Yeah, like I always like to talk to people about the anchor property. Why don't you price it high so you can be the anchor property in the neighborhood and let everybody know what a good deal they're getting when they buy the other person's house.
It's true. We have an adage. Our broker, well, your old broker, but my broker, John Carter, he says this all the time, by overpricing. And we're not talking about when a market is shifting. I think we're in a bit of a shifting market now. You guys can tune in on Sunday to learn about that. But I'm not talking about when a market's shifting and you have to kind of readjust. I'm talking about all signs point to your house is worth 500 and you want to list it at 600. You are going to look so expensive and you're going to help all your neighbors' houses sell. And they're going to love you so much for that. But we love you too much to let you do that to yourself. So
like, but mine is different. My kids grew up here. Like, so did theirs there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there are some times where your property is different.
Of course.
But depending on the market, it won't matter. Like in a buyer's market, it doesn't matter. Almost like I've had this problem and it just like, it baffles me as well as much as it baffles the sellers. Like when, you're backing onto like green space or trees, you got that privacy and they're like, but doesn't that matter? Doesn't that like make it worth more? I'm like, yeah, in the right market. But like in a buyer's market, in the climate where people are flat out busy. They don't, they might be wanting to look for something more perfect where there's nothing to do in the house. So like that, like I don't understand buyers myself that way, because like the principles of like location matters doesn't seem to matter to
Not always.
buyers. It's
It's true.
weird.
Yeah.
Because I always say, like, you can't ever change you can change the location only if you sell, right? But like you
Yeah.
can change the cabinets, you can change the floor, you can paint a wall, but like
Yeah.
you can't move. Like if you don't like backing onto 5 people looking into your house, I know it should
Okay.
matter, but it just doesn't matter anyway.
You
So
know
anyway,
why I
I
think?
kind of went off
You know what
track.
I think it is? I have ascertained that there are two types of people. There are outside people and there are inside people. The inside people do not care about the forest / lot adjustment that when I built this house brand new, I had to pay an extra 50 grand for it. They don't care about that.
Yeah.
Outside people like me are like, I seek the yard. I'm like, where is the forest? I would like to be one with the forest, like Snow White,
Mhm.
like that's who I want to be. So I would pay extra for that. But what we're talking about there is subjective value.
Yep. And
Right?
that's where sometimes people like, they're like, well, I just want to price it high because of that. It's like, but you really have to think of the market. You got to think of the buyers in the neighborhood, like who you're bringing, like, I don't know.
Well, and
It's just,
and there's different strategies. And I think the point is to be open to hearing about different strategies. And we're open to hearing you out too, of course. But there's a difference between overpricing it by 100,000. And before you guys think that doesn't happen, I can absolutely assure you that people want to overprice their house. I've had these conversations. I have witnessed this happen. And that you're not doing anybody any favors at all. And if we say, hey, listed at 425, and you're like, how about 429? That is obviously a reasonable thing to try. Like, sure, let's try it. If it doesn't sell after a week, though, then it's 425. That's generally what we say.
you know what my favorite sellers are as a joke? Is the
It doesn't mean
mathematicians who are like, Jen, could you tell me how much percentage of list price houses are selling for? And I'm like, well, say like it's a slow market. So it's like, oh, 95% of list price. Like, okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to list it higher than that. So when we sell it, we'll get like what we want. So like, I don't know what the actual numbers are because I don't have a calculator with me, but let's just say 95% of list price was like 400,000. So they're like, they're going to list like way higher than that. So when somebody gets it, they're like, yeah, you got it for 95% list price. No, but they still overpaid. Like it doesn't work that way.
Do you want to know what I think is hilarious? I've had a few sellers, as you all know, ask me about that kind of stuff, but those are generally like people like spreadsheet lovers, like they're accountants or they're in the trade of numbers in some respect or engineering.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how they communicate and value the world. So those are legitimate questions but they're kind of like tools, right? Like knowing the average list to sale ratio price for your neighborhood is just a tool to help you. Because if the average list to sale ratio price is 85%, that tells me we're in a market spiral down. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if the average is 104%, that tells me either we're in a growth period or everybody's just underpriced the listing. Like there's a lot of nuances to that, right?
And that's where you might even like overprice it a little bit.
Sure,
Like
sure.
maybe.
And that's different when you're in a shift out market. You know who never asks me? Buyers. Never once in 19 years have I had a buyer say, what is the list to sale price ratio? And let's make our offer based off of that. I have had buyers tell me that their dad bought a house in 1984. And back then you automatically offered 10% off. And we would like to try that strategy now. So that doesn't go over well. I don't recommend that strategy. And that's a real story too.
I actually had buyers with that. Actually asked that.
I know. I actually think this might have been your story because I was like a listing agent and the buyer's agent told me that was their reason for their offer, which didn't make sense.
Yeah. The classic ones are like, let's just start low and then we're going to like meet in the middle. Like, also, that's probably a myth here. Let's look.
Yeah.
Let's get back to our list. So what we're at? There are 3. So, okay. I don't need a pre-approval. I'll just start shopping. Like I'm going to Lululemon. No, you won't.
Yeah.
Oh, too bad Joseanne's not here today because we did an episode that's coming out, and she's really like really tough on those buyers to make sure they got their
She
pre-approval.
looks so sweet though. Like I feel like they don't see her coming. Okay.
Yeah. She's like, "Nope, I've had it." It's
Yeah.
just like only because it's not because she's like trying to like weed out people that aren't serious. It's like literally because you see people get broken
Yep.
hearts. Like,
It's so you guys, it's so hard.
yeah,
Okay, we're being sarcastic and ironical and funny today, but we genuinely care about you. And do you know how it feels to watch that look on your face when you're like, Kimberly, I totally thought I could afford 500,000. So I went to a bunch of open houses and now I can only afford 350. There is a very big difference, all right, in that 150,000. And it is a harsh reality for people to adjust to.
even 50,000, like,
Yeah.
uh yeah, and it's and or they go out like they set on it and they're like, "Yes, this is what we want for our family," and then nothing ever is good enough for them after that. Like it's just it's sad. Like it's very
Yeah.
sad and it's heartbreaking. Then you feel I don't know, bad for them too. So it's just like,
Of
let's
course.
avoid the heartbreak.
Yeah.
Let's get something really awesome in your pre-approval limit.
Yeah.
And I think one thing I want to mention here, just make sure I don't have it later. Yeah. So also with this pre-approval, and I'll start shopping. Sounds fun, right? Because shopping's fun
It is fun.
for
It is
most
kind of
people.
fun. It is.
But the thing is like maybe getting a pre-approval isn't fun. And
Yeah.
that's scary for some people. So we can understand why you wouldn't want to get it, but you need to understand that it's not a pass or fail typically.
No.
So you're not going to just like you don't have to worry like if you're I had actually clients that were worried about that. They're like, I don't want to get the pre-approval because what if I fail?
Oh,
And I'm like, you're not gonna fail. Like it's
yeah.
okay. Like you have a good job, you know your credit, you don't have a lot of debt, so you're not gonna fail. You're just gonna know like your what your limits are.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Yeah, and
and
that's a
that's
good
it.
thing.
Like
That's a good thing. And there's, you know, we've done this on our listings and I see this a lot more commonplace nowadays. And I will say this before we move on from this topic. A pre-approval is a pre-approval. It is not a guarantee of financing. All right. It just
mhm.
means that you, as the purchaser, have done your due diligence. And we know most likely there's no massive red flags like you didn't, claim bankruptcy last year. You're not going through a divorce without a separation agreement. Like there's sometimes there's times you shouldn't be purchasing, right? Or you're not able to. And those would be indications of those times. That said, if you have your pre-approval in place, sometimes listing agents will ask for a copy of the pre-approval to show that you've done your due diligence. We'll still
Mhm.
put in a financing condition because at that point, it's then about like, is the house worth the bank investing in? It's like a risk assessment. But yeah, there's been lots of times I've had offers on properties and they'll put 3 weeks for a financing condition. And I'm like, why do you need 3 weeks? And they're like, oh, well, they're not pre-approved. And I'm like, my sellers have been on the market for 8 hours. Like we are not going to take it off 3 weeks only to find out that insert
Yeah.
reason.
I think that's another thing buyers don't realize is like if a seller complies with the request to accept an offer with a financing condition, if you
Yeah.
get the pre-approval, they're more confident that
Yeah.
it's gonna go through
Yeah.
because we have like cumulative days on market. Days on market is a thing. It
Yeah.
stigmatizes a property or it can,
Yeah.
and and sellers might not want to take that risk. They'd be like, well, we're getting a lot of showings. We think other offers are coming, so we're just gonna wait to see because once they accept your offer, they're like stuck with that,
Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
have no other choice. So
And that's okay. And again, it's always disappointing when a deal falls apart on financing and sellers often get like this is maybe a myth for them. They think, well, would they were pre-approved? I'm like, no, like because we tell people like it's not a guarantee, but it's hard to forget. And there's always
oh
lots of
yeah,
moving pieces.
I had a client that was pre-approved with a very good bank,
Right.
and at the end of the day, like the compliance people or whoever the underwriter like didn't
Yeah.
like their down payment, how they got their
It can
down
get
payment.
crazy.
They just didn't like it. They had all
Yeah.
this proof and evidence, but they're just like, no, we don't like it.
Yeah.
Sorry. And
Like what can you do?
the other thing is like if you think that you're like a high income earner and you don't need a pre-approval, or like or your realtor hasn't asked you for one, like you should just like listen to us and go get it, because
You should
I
listen to us.
sold $1 million place, it's like in the millions dollar place, and it came to closing, and the buyers didn't have financing. They needed it, like they weren't paying
My
cash.
shock face. How did it? What
They
happened?
didn't. Yeah, we had to wait. Like they had all this interest to pay
Oh,
after,
that's so, I'm
because
so
they had
sad
a
for them. That is so much money.
yeah, it's a lot of money, and then my sellers were, like, panicking
Of
because
course.
they were relying, like, they did everything right, like, when you do the buy, sell at the same time thing, and you're like, "Wait till your buyer removes conditions," so then you go put an offer in another place, so you're like, the buyer's locked in, so you're pretty much a sure thing, so you plan all your possession dates around all of that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what they did. Luckily, they give themselves, like, 2 or 3 weeks in between the two, but sometimes, you have those, like, next day ones. They would have been totally hooped
They would
because
have
they
been hooked
needed that
on.
as their down payment, like the
Oh,
money coming, the
right.
proceeds from that sale, and they could have got bridge financing maybe, but it's still an extra cost,
Of
you know,
course.
all this stuff. So these people are panicking to get a mortgage in place because the person who was like highly educated, has a good job, but
Oh.
there was just like,
There's
I
other
don't know if
factors,
there
man.
was like a new to Canada thing, or like,
Something.
yeah,
Self-employed,
something with
maybe.
like credit not establishment or
Yeah.
something like this. So like it took them a while, and they ended up going to like a bank that wasn't like your typical, like a B lender or something. And like they went through the whole process. They even removed their financing condition.
I'm like heartbroken for everybody involved in this
Yeah.
situation. That is so stressful. And we will, you know what? You know who Jen and I and Joseanne are? We love smooth closings people. So that's why up front we're like, all right, here's like a novel full of information about all of the terrible things that could happen. And we love watching you panic. Not really, we don't. But we're telling you this because we want to support you.
Yeah.
So yeah, super
And
important
then,
to get.
and also just so you understand why we ask.
Yeah.
Like it's not really like to scare you. Like, I mean, you should be scared. Just kidding. No, but like it's not really about that. It's just so you understand,
You'll
like,
be
people are asking not to try to get sales
yeah,
or to push you
of course.
into like, oh, I only want to work with clients that are sure things. Like that's not it.
That's not
It's
it.
not it. Like we're
Yeah.
there so you like, until you do it, you might not realize this. It's stressful buying a house. It's
Oh my
not fun.
gosh.
Like I said, shopping's fun. It's not that fun sometimes. Like, yeah, it's maybe fun at first, but when you start like getting your report from your property inspection, or you're working with a builder that's like all of a sudden these extra charges come up and you didn't know about it, and then you feel trapped, but like you have us to rely on, so like it gets stressful and it
It
gets
does.
hard, and like we try to do all this upfront stuff so you guys can not feel, you can feel the least amount of stress as possible.
Yeah,
Listen,
exactly.
listen to
Yeah,
us.
yeah. Okay, number 4, I have to renovate everything before I list my house. Do
Yeah,
we
yeah, do that.
do that?
No,
Okay,
I'm just
well,
kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm being sarcastic. Like, do not
rip
do
it
that. I mean,
all out.
I think there's
Yes. Yeah.
go ahead. Go ahead. You go.
Okay, so the reality is not all renos add value. Some small updates or staging are enough. You could do, honestly, a really deep clean. I think Soundcheck is asking you a question there, Jen. You could do a really deep clean and some painting and decluttering, and that might be enough. Every situation, every property is incredibly unique. And again, like we say in the disclaimer, you need to talk to someone who's going to curate advice for you. Do renovations sometimes make sense? Yes, absolutely they do. I was just talking to one of my clients this morning, long-term
Mhm.
client, and he called me and he said, Kimberly, you are never going to believe what I'm going to tell you. So these family has been clients of mine for close to 10 years. And he says, do you remember my condo that I have in this area? And I said, yeah, I remember. And he said, because he's owned this condo forever. And he said, my tenants that I've had for 34 years, 34-year long tenancy he's had. They are finally moving on and they're going into a care home or wherever they're going. I'm not sure. Moving in with family, and he's probably going to have to renovate. In that case, 34 years, I mean, well maintained, but really dated, it would probably be in his best interest to do some updates, but not always. And they're not always a dollar for dollar trade.
They're
People
like
think
most times not. Like you can get that Harrison Bowker appraisal guide or whatever will give you like the stat numbers on it. Obviously, it's market dependent.
it is.
So it's not 100%, but most things are like a 60% return on investment. I think painting was one of the highest ones. It might be, depending on the market, 100% return on investment, but it's hilarious when somebody's like, I'm going to do my basement. I'm going to pay 50,000. So then my house is going to be worth like 80,000 more.
And sometimes it is, but
Yeah.
sometimes it's not. And markets shift. But I think the thing is, like, for example, the best dollar for dollar is paint. $50 in a can, $500 on the wall. That's just a misnomer. Those aren't real numbers. But that's the best thing you can do. Same with cleaning. But let's take, for example, new appliances. You could spend $5,000 on new appliances. You'd be lucky to get that $5,000 back, but it might expedite your sale.
Cleaning and decluttering, cheap ways. You don't have to do everything. Yeah, I agree with you. Like I had somebody ask me recently, just a friend that that's like in a completely different market than us, was like, what should I do? It's like my roof is about to, peel off. I just like, I'm pretty sure the furnace is about to go, or the water tank or something like that. I'm like, look, like you don't have to replace that, but bottom line is they're gonna get
cold feet.
Yeah, an inspection. And the inspector is going to be like, gonna need a new roof. Oh, you might get a quote on insurance to be like, we checked it from satellite maps and it looks like you're gonna need a new roof, so you have 30 days to do that, or else we're not going to insure your place, or whatever they do. You know what I mean? Like, so I said, like, it could just save you a lot of headaches. So if you have the equity in your place, or you have the cash to do it, like I'm like, I don't know your market right now, so I can't tell you for sure if it would like help you with the value, but it definitely help you with headaches. So do you have to renovate everything? No, but there might be some key things you might want to do, like you were saying with that other place.
So those are the key things for aesthetics. You know what else I tell people? This is like an easy to remember. This is like trademark Kimberly coded. If it leaks, squeaks, or sparks, fix it, because it's going to come up in the inspection.
Oh yeah, that's a good
one. What do I mean
one.
by that? I mean, like, oh, that light in the spare room's been broken since the 90s. Okay, fix it. There's a leak under the bathroom sink. That is so common. That comes up in every inspection. I promise you have a leak in your house somewhere. Fix it. Especially if it's something like a leak under a bathroom sink isn't like as scary. However, like water main leaks, people get really freaked out about that because it's what side is it on? Like who owns it? Like who's responsible? And they freak out about that. And anything like squeaky. So sometimes in really old houses, you can't really help that the floor is a little bit squeaky, but you ever seen like in a kitchen counter where like the laminate is just coming off, or it's like loose? Glue that down, nail that down. I promise you, we're just going to like tighten this in. That's the best use of your money, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's why we work together, because we have the same opinions.
Yeah, we have the same opinions, so we think each other are like brilliantly smart. We're like, of course, that's exactly right.
I just want to take a commercial break here and advise you guys that at 274 Podcast Hub, we have a special birthday today. Our logo princess, Mila.
I did not know this.
Yeah. She's
Mila,
4 today.
Mila.
Yeah, Mila.
We love you, Mila.
My little Mila Kunitz. Just kidding. It's just like Mila. She's like, we got her from a Ukrainian family. So I was like, yeah.
Oh, is that what you named her, Mila? Okay, you guys. She has 2 dogs. Mila is spelled Mila, and her other dog, we're gonna have show and tell, and I'm gonna tell you about the other dog. The other dog is spelled Mika. So you would think it would be Mila and Mika, but it's not. This is Micah.
Yeah, this is Micah. And it's very confusing because you'll say Mila and Mika, or people will say Micah and Mila.
Yeah.
Like, nope. Okay, so that's our small commercial break. Just wanted to let you guys know. Wish Mila happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Mila. I wish you all the doggy cupcakes in the world.
Okay, so what do we have next?
Number 5. Take it away.
Okay, it's the best deal is always the lowest price.
Yeah. The lowest price you pay on the house means best deal. Yeah, unless you're buying a house that needs every mechanical system updated and it's original to 1943. Like that's fine if you have the money to pay that stuff. Because if you don't, not the best deal for you, I'm thinking. Usually. Okay.
And it just depends, like, yeah. So what was your, yeah? And then what did you say here? This is funny.
I had a reframe.
Sellers think the best deal is the highest price.
Of course. Shocker, shocker. Micah would agree with me on this. Like, it's just the way, of course. But here's the thing. Buyers always want to pay the least amount. Sellers always want to get the most money. That is irrefutably true, of course, right? And we just try to find the happy medium. And in reality, with a negotiation, when you find the win-win, it's actually more like when each party gave a little bit more than they wanted. That generally is what midline negotiating is about. But I think the bottom line, or like the hidden meaning behind this particular point, is there's other factors at play. What other factors would be at play that would significantly impact the offer, Jen?
Well, the terms, the conditions, if you need a certain possession date. Like, I know sometimes people are building a house and they would like a long possession date just to, and so you might be able to get that lowest price if you can give on the possession. But if you want your cake and eat it too, unless you're in a 2019 market, good luck.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Okay. So
but
I think
just wait. This also, I want to circle back to that sold to list ratio.
Mm-hmm.
This is where you might be able to gauge if you're getting a good deal for both people. So if you have like a market, let's say your old market, Winnipeg, seems to everything selling over 100%. So like if you're a buyer and you get it for like, maybe say like the sold to list ratio is like 110% is typical.
Sure.
You get it for like 106.
You're winning.
You didn't pay lower than list, but I mean, you paid lower than what people are paying. So
yeah. And honestly, in hot markets or even like balanced market, buyers markets, obviously you are going to have an expectation. A purchaser likely will have an expectation of getting a better deal. In hot markets, one of the best pieces of advice I can give you, because it does feel disappointing if you like miss out on the hot market, the hot buyer's market, right? You miss out on that and it's a year later and that's a circumstance. Okay, we can't change that. The win is getting the house you want. The win is getting the house you want, you guys. Like getting a good deal on something, you are getting a good deal. I want you to buy a house in a hot market and then call me in 10 years. It will be worth more. Unless you bought a condo, and that is a different story. And I'm not saying a condo is a bad investment. I'm just saying it's a different, literally a different metric all the time. Totally different.
Yeah.
But when it comes to single family, like you play the long game. If you can play the long game, you're going to be winning.
But like, if we sidebar on that, like we should tell people, if you guys are listening and interested, why it's different is because, in my opinion, you tell me what you think, but I think it's because condo fees eat into equity. So like you could literally keep your, like the price of the condo could be like $250,000 in 10 years. But when you first started, it was like the condo fees were like $450 and now they're like $800.
Yeah.
And so the cost is actually still more.
Yeah.
But still less than a single family. So whatever.
Yeah. And a lot of people, just like everything, I would say there's two different types of buyer. Like, so in that scenario, that person would most likely be a first-time buyer, most likely, right? Not necessarily, but you've got a first-time buyer. They don't care. They care how much it costs, but what the most important metric for them is how much this costs them per month.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. They're like, is it better to rent or buy? Maybe they're looking at that monthly cost. So
yeah. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Okay.
Tell us about number 6. Yeah.
So I don't need professional photos or marketing. My house sells itself. Okay. I don't agree.
What sells itself, really?
What sells itself? Okay. So here's the reality. I'm going to explain this by telling you a story because like Jen says, I have a story for that. So this is a Winnipeg story. And I actually do have Edmonton stories. I have a decade's worth, but I had these really amazing clients that had this. I would buy this house like tomorrow. I would move back there and buy it. It was beautiful 1940s 2 stories, absolutely stunning in like the West End, like kind of near Wolseley. People in Winnipeg know what I'm talking about. Beautiful, beautiful.
Wolseley.
Yeah, Wolseley. Very historic. And it was kind of like stately and it had like wrought iron and like all this. It had a huge yard on a corner with big trees and a pool. Like yard is probably like 100 by 200. Like it was huge. It was stunning. And they were moving because they were being relocated to the States. So they were moving to Maryland. So who knows if they're still there. Shout out to them because they were awesome. And their house was amazing. And they didn't buy it for me because they'd lived there like 10 years or whatever. So I met them subsequently. But they told me that they didn't even want to look at this house because they loved the pictures and the marketing that we did. And they say, you should go look at the old photos. And I say this with all due respect, right? But the old photos were horrid. Like they were really dark. Like they kind of reminded me of like, I don't know, like there was no flash. Like, I don't know. It was just really dark. There was like 5 pictures. And this house, they're like, Kimberly, yeah, like they've redone the kitchen and whatever, but mostly the house was in such great shape that we were shocked. So surprised when we arrived at the property because our agent came, whatever agent they had at the time, previewed the property and kind of forced them. Like, you guys have to come, you have to see this property. And it had sat on the market forever in a hot Winnipeg market because the pictures were so bad. And they went in and they bought it like that day. And they actually didn't believe their agent that they were in the same house that the pictures. That's how pictures matter. Thank you so much.
Yeah, people won't even look at your property.
They won't look
if they think it looks bad. Like they're like,
Exactly.
oh no, this is not for us. Like, but at the same time, like for buyers, like the nicest pictures, you need to go see the place because like smoke and mirrors, right? Like.
Well, and okay, what's the one thing? Here's a quiz for you. Pop quiz. What's the one thing pictures don't tell us? Smell. Right? And I don't even mean like it could be anything. I remember this one beautiful house. It was fully renovated, and again, this is no hate, but smokers lived there. And my clients were so allergic to cigarette smoke. So we walk in and like walked right out. And like, that's why it's not smelling. It wasn't horrible, but definitely you could smell it. So that's not something that showed in the photos.
I had a realtor tell me once that we could smell it. There's like 3 of us. Like we're like, somebody smokes in this house, or there's some kind of vent close to where somebody smokes and it comes into the house. And they like swore up and down that it never happened. I'm like,
did they have a teenage child at home? Maybe
I don't even know who was there, but we're just like, okay, suit yourself. We don't care anyway. We're just giving you feedback. We're not getting it. Like, we don't want to be like, these guys don't want to be in a place with smoke. So it's like, you don't have to believe us. But
I honestly think, and because my mom used to be a smoker, right? Like back in the day. And so I grew up near that. I'm not a smoker. And so I'm ultra sensitive to it. I think that I'm generally serious. I think that it dulls your senses. So even if you quit smoking, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I'm open to being educated on this. It does take a while for your full sense of smell to come back. So like maybe they really just were like, no, like we quit smoking, like no one smokes in this house, and they really couldn't smell it anymore. So we'll give them the benefit of the doubt. But
it's called being nose blind. Like I think Febreze commercials like came up with those. Like my dogs, for example, if they get wet, they might not smell as pleasant as they normally do.
That's fair.
And, people, I'd always be worried. Like in my car, people are gonna come in my car and be like, "Do you smell dog?" Because I'm nose blind to it. I would just tell them, like, I'm nose blind to dog smell. I cannot tell.
Yeah,
and I think that people are like generally like that with their houses too. So like, you should just like, whether it's smoking dogs or skin dander, you should clean your house really well. Like back to one of those things we said earlier. Smells are the thing. Pictures don't sell the house. I mean, sometimes
they're a tool. They're probably the most important.
You know what? I've seen pictures do the opposite. They've got a lot of people into a property and it sits there because once the people go see it in person, it's not as good. So they're like, oh, wait, I didn't realize that went this way.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah. Oh, I totally think something that the realtor community has adopted in the last 5-10 years that helps with that sort of stuff is floor plans, like including floor plans. Because so my husband and I have been softly in the market for a couple of years, just looking for an acreage. And there are times where I'm looking at pictures and I'm a professional realtor. Okay. I'm basically a professional house touring person. I go in houses all the time. I can usually figure out even the quirkiest of houses from the photos. I can figure out what the layout is. And every now and then I cannot figure it out and whatever. And then I get to the floor plan and I'm like, oh, this kitchen is like on the opposite side of the house of what I thought. And whatever, it doesn't matter. But I'm just saying you cannot tell everything. There's just certain things you have to do in person. Okay. You have to get married in person. You have to see your house in person. That's all there is to it.
Marriage thing's questionable, but
well, you have to do it in person. Okay. There's some TV shows, Love is Blind thing. We're not about that game. You do have to do it in person. We know that.
I mean, legally probably, but not legally.
Yeah. Also, strongly advise. Yeah.
Okay, so I think we have time for the bonus discussion.
Okay. I love this topic. And I was like I said, I didn't even tell Jen that I added this on here. So here is the question. And we need to talk about it a little bit from the buyer's and the seller's perspective. And we're talking about buyer letters. So buyer letters are those like, hello, I'm adorable. Here are pictures of my children and I skiing. And like, I would like to purchase your house. Okay. Do they work, Jen?
So I think they work like winning the lottery. So they're like, you bought a ticket and you like got the right numbers. So yeah, you win. I don't know. That's my opinion. Like I've had it work. I don't know. I think it's just a fluke. So I think like you think they work?
Not for the reason you think. So this is what I think. And in my heart, I hear a lot of these stories in Ontario. Okay. My heart goes out to people who are in really difficult markets. So I think always try and never lose your faith. That's my best advice. But if you're getting outbid by $100,000, your buyer letter is not helping you. Obviously, we can appreciate that. All right. Here's the thing though, sometimes you're not competing and you can only afford so much. So I had a story a few years back where I had a single parent and he literally was like, this is all I have. Like, this is all I have. And the house had sat on the market for a couple months and, it actually was priced pretty fair. We were about 10 grand apart and we're talking like the difference between 190 and 200. All right. So 10 grand apart in like an $800,000 house feels obviously like a lot less than in this price bracket. And we wrote just like a little letter just explaining like, if I had this, if I had 200,000, I would give it to you. I literally don't. I'm willing to match. I'm willing to do short, like do only a week for conditions. Like we'll hurry it up for you. That way, if it doesn't work out, but here's a pre-approval letter and I'm willing to match whatever possession date you want. And I will give you my entire 5% for a down payment if you want. But we literally put it on the table for her and it did work out and he did live there and he ended up, selling it because it's been a number of years now. But the reason it worked
what kind of market was it?
Oh gosh. I'm going to say right before COVID. So it would have been 2019. So it was a tough market. But like, even still, the price she was asking for her house was pretty fair. Like it really was. So anyway, so that's fine. And he actually did pretty well because he accidentally bought it in 2019, right? So the reason it really worked in that scenario is we didn't just write 190 and like, not to suggest she would have gotten offended. That was not an offensive offer, but some people do get offended. You think they would only get offended at a real low ball? No, sometimes they get offended if you don't offer list price. You never know the emotion of the person on the other side. So if you tell them a little bit about your story, I think it helps explain it. Also, it proves to me as a listing agent that the buyer knows something about this person and it isn't someone they met at an open house 2 hours ago. And we can talk about why that's significant. So if I'm like, look, this is the third time I've bought or sold with this family. This is an investment property for them. They're purchasing it for their niece and nephew who are moving here from Calgary for university, and we're doing 20% down. That is like a green light, green flag to a seller's agent. Mm-hmm. That's why they work.
I guess I would qualify my answer from earlier is like, I don't think that they work in a very, very hot seller's market, except for my cousin proved me wrong with her recent purchase in Winnipeg. But I just think in a hot seller's market, when you have like 20 offers or more,
money talks.
What's that?
Money talks in those scenarios. Money talks.
She was just in multiple offers with like 3 or 4, and they did a letter. And I mean, like if the realtor knows, like your buyer's realtor knows kind of like a little bit about the seller somehow,
yeah,
it could help because like, for example, in her situation, she was buying from an older guy with the same like heritage.
Oh, neat.
So, you know, she's like she's Ukrainian, so she dressed her kids up in their Ukrainian dance outfits,
Yep.
and and
Yep.
wrote the letter like, we love the pool, like the kids
Tugging
are
at the
gonna swim in
heartstrings.
it. Yeah,
Yes.
they found out that the guy had built the pool for his kids.
Oh,
And
love
so,
that.
like, you know, there's like a buying and selling real estate is very emotional. So
Yes.
if the price is close enough and everybody's around the same, maybe it tips the
It'll
scales.
tip it.
Um,
Okay.
you
Can I
know.
tell you another scenario in which I think it's really advantageous is if you have an
Okay.
out-of-town buyer. So if anybody who has ever worked with an out-of-town buyer, or if you have ever been, I had some people recently, and like most of the time out-of-town buyers are like military. They're like, we arrive on Monday at 9 a.m. and we leave the next Sunday at 9 p.m. and we have 7 days and we will be purchasing a home. And I have a whole system that we follow for that. So if you guys ever want to talk about that, we can talk about that and touch on that. But these buyers were not military. They were a self-relocation, meaning they were moving here to be close to family and whatever. Okay, they're moving here from Ontario. They were awesome. And we're in this house, and we saw maybe like 20 over the course of like 4 days, because they were here for a little bit. They were here about a week and a half. So we spread it out a little bit. And the house they bought was actually one that it was on their reject list initially. We had to go back and revisit. So when we walked into the house, we knew it was the last one we saw. We knew right away it was the right one. And we were like, we would like an answer today. All right. But we still want to negotiate a little bit. So we're going to be reasonable with the number. And I don't actually, to be honest, I don't remember what the numbers were, but we were very reasonable with the number, a little bit lower, but you know, and then we noticed that they had a golden retriever. Well, my buyers also have a golden retriever. So we wrote a buyer letter from their dog, Lily, the golden retriever, to the family that owned the house. And we got an answer within less than an hour, and we were accepted. They just took it. So, or maybe counted us a couple grand higher. There was like some small change, but literally because time was of the essence, that helped. We're like, hello, we are like you. And it was honestly, that letter is my pride and joy because I helped them write it. So yeah.
I mean, like, it shouldn't matter, but it sometimes does. Like, I don't think people should like necessarily go by some things that people might put in a letter. Like,
oh yeah, take it with a grain of salt. Make
you
sure
know,
that
we had a friend the other day ask about, he's selling a place and the buyer's agent was asking about race and stuff like that. It's like very inappropriate. You know, so the sellers shouldn't make decisions on that. And I think that's where it could, like, you know, you could get yourself in trouble. So you have to be kind of careful.
Oh my God, never ask that question.
Mm-hmm.
And weren't they asking about the race of the tenant? No. Don't ask.
Cool.
No. I don't care if your buyer's asking. Okay, well,
I think this is great that we got through everything. I mean, there's more to it, but those are like, I think the most common ones that are myths that stop buyers or sellers, or, you know, create them to do crazy things.
Yeah. Well, and things that make you crazy, right? Like, here's the thing. You always hear these stories, you know, like young buyer buys a house and then they're like, oh, I'm so upset because I told my coworkers that I purchased this house and I paid X number of dollars for it. And they're like, oh, well, you overpaid because I know, and I read the stats or whatever. Okay. Your coworker doesn't know what they're talking about. Like, you and I went through the stats together. So things that drive you crazy, but can make you feel crazy too. Let's avoid that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know, like the people that found a for sale by owner and they got such a good deal. I'm like, but did you know the seller lost then? Like, if you got a good deal, seller didn't understand what the price of their house was in the market.
Yeah. Hey, listen, we all make choices.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if that's it for that, then we're going to close it out. Thanks for tuning in to Edmonton Relocation Insider Live. If you found this conversation helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss an episode. If you have more questions about moving to or living in Edmonton, drop them in the comments. We love hearing from you. And to connect with us, see the description or the show notes and mention you found us by watching the show. And 274 Podcast Hub will send you a free gift. And don't forget, we're here every Sunday at 1 p.m. Mountain, 3 p.m. Eastern, and Thursday, 6 Mountain, 8 p.m. Eastern, answering your questions live. We'll see you next time. Same place, same show. Until then, take care.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.